Hello, my name's Tim Hughes. I'm the Director of Communications for the Spirit Invest Group. Today I want to talk about the newly formed Government of National Unity. It's been a month since we had the elections, and as we know, it did not produce a majority victory for the African National Congress. What it produced is a statement of intent, which we discussed last time. Now we have 11 parties in Parliament that have signed the statement of intent, which has some very encouraging principles such as adherence to constitutionality, growth of the economy, evidence-based policy making. So after much negotiation, the Government of National Unity has been formed, and it was a masterclass by President Cyril Ramaphosa. He certainly is unparalleled in his ability to bring together parties in a way that he did in the 1990s with the Constitutional Assembly. I suppose the first significant point about the Government of National Unity is perhaps what it excludes. And it excludes Mkhonto weSizwe, the party led by Jacob Zuma, and it excludes the economic freedom fighters. So what we've avoided in South Africa is the doomsday scenario of the African National Congress forming a government with the EFF and MK. So that's good news. That's good news for the country. It's good news for business. And what we now have is a Government of National Unity that really comprises those parties, many of the parties, who've signed the Statement of Intent. So obviously it's led by the African National Congress, supported by the Democratic Alliance, the Inkatha Freedom Party, but also it includes the Pan-Africanist Congress, it includes the Patriotic Alliance, it includes the Freedom Front, and it includes the Good Party as well. It also includes the UDM of Bantu Holomisa. So one can say it's a very, very broad representative government, and it represents about 70% of the electorate. I suppose there'll be criticism of the GNU in terms of its size. So in order to accommodate everybody's interests in the GNU, the president has had to compromise. He promised that he would bring the size of the cabinet and the executive down. To the contrary, the cabinet and the executive now increased to be the largest in history. So we now have 32 ministers and we have 43 deputy ministers. And some would say that's a terrible waste of money. But I think we can also say it's a price that's worth paying for inclusivity to make sure that everybody's represented. So what is key? What's come out of the GNU? Well, very obviously, President Ramaphosa leads it. Deputy President Paul Mashatile remains in place. And so I think a lot of the business community, both local and international, were looking for what's going to happen with the economic cluster. So finance, trade and industry, for example, energy, infrastructure. And largely the African National Congress has held sway in those portfolios. It's kept control of the economic cluster. But it's been supported by members of the opposition or members of the GNU. So both in terms of the Ministry of Finance, there is now a Deputy Minister of Finance from the DA. There's an additional Deputy Minister of Finance from the ANC, but in terms of trade and industry as well. There's a good Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition from the DA. There's been continuity on energy, so Dr. Ramaphosa has continued as Minister of Energy and Electricity, and he's doing a good job in terms of keeping the lights on, so that's most welcome. I think many people will be encouraged by John Steenhuisen being appointed Minister of Agriculture. Others will be, I think, encouraged by the appointment of a member of the opposition leading the Department of Home Affairs, which is going to be very interesting as well. And I think we can see there's going to be a very important change in that department. Also in terms of correctional services, Peter Groenewald from the Vryheids Front is leading that. On the other side of the political spectrum, the leader of the Pan-Africanist Congress now heads land reform in South Africa, which is important. It's a return for Minister Motsoaledi in terms of health. And perhaps a strange appointment, there have been a number of them, a strange appointment is Angie Motshekga being appointed Minister of Defence. Senzo Mchunu now becomes Minister of Police. I think many of us are looking forward to a much better performance in this key portfolio as well. So what happens now? Well, after the ministers get sworn in, which will be on the 3rd of July, there'll be a cabinet lekgotla. They will go away. They will identify policy priorities for the government for the next 5 years. They have to get to know their portfolios, their ministers, deputy ministers, the directors general. And then we've been promised in terms of the statement of intent that there will be some kind of national convention, a meeting between political parties, political leadership, rather, government, business, labour, civil society, and we'll start with this process of the development or the establishment of a social compact. I think everybody in South Africa believes that's going to be a very, very good thing. So, is it a good thing that we have a government of national unity? Well, if we look at how the markets have responded, the markets are green the day after the GNU was formed. The rand has strengthened, and certainly by and large the GNU has been met with very, very favourable response. But let's see how it pans out. We'll stay in touch with you about the Government of National Unity. We'll keep our eye on key portfolios such as finance, trade and industry, for example, and we'll update on these from time to time. Thank you for watching.